Okay, I'm gonna show you guys my favorite way to train chest with resistance bands and a bar. You're going to need a bench, and I think after this video, you might wanna go ahead and pick one up if you do not already have one. I've been messing around with a bunch of different barbells and dimensions, different band companies and band dimensions. Like I said, the handles too. There are some pros and cons. End of the day, guys, it comes down to how you want to fine tune your own settings, because I didn't necessarily find there was like one dimension that fit the bill, because even the tensions made a difference. I just got these Generation 2 performance bands by X3. I'll talk about that probably in a separate video, but these are a lot more stiff compared to the Generation ones. So I kind of like the moderate tension. I found the Serious Steel to be pretty moderate overall. Some of the Harambes were too stiff, but even the lower ones I actually liked a little bit. But of course, it also depends on what kind of barbell you're going to use. I would say by default, how I'm showing this, and I'll say this in a second, you're going to want probably a longer barbell. The clench is probably also a nice little kind of mid-ground if you wanted something like that. But I even tried the collar hooks on the kind of heavy barbell, but I'd probably recommend something lighter. Overall, I'd probably say that aluminum Geku one or just the X3 long bar was probably the overall best one if you wanted more of a wider standard bench press. All right, so if it isn't too obvious, all I'm simply doing is I'm gonna wrap the band around the bench, but you're gonna need a wider bar. I feel like I had to have tried this at one point, but I'm actually very surprised because you guys know there's some new products that came out, like Vector Athletics made their base plate. And I know a lot of you guys like to kind of bench off the floor. And if you got a bench, might as well take advantage of it. Of course, you got to check the bench. There is a little bit of a risk, let's say, of like the bands kind of getting tangled or hitting on something. I don't think it's honestly a big deal. Most of these bands are all pretty sturdy. There's no sharp edges, at least on the Super Bench so much. I do have somewhere around here, I think it's in my black hole of accessories in that bin, I do have the Serious Steel band guard. If you want to be super safe, you could certainly do that. I honestly thought it was not a big deal for how I'm using it and how often I'll probably do that, so I'm not too concerned about it. But of course, if you want to really protect your bands, getting something like the band guard would totally suffice for that. I'll probably show you a bunch of other shots, and I did a bunch of stuff off recording too, but for right now, I'll just show you a shot here with the X3 long bar. I got a Harambe band, which is 38 inches. I'm just going to loop it over. There's a little kind of a knob back there for the Super Bench. I'm going to pull up a little bit. Now you could just string around the band and kind of loop it on the hook, and the good thing about this is if you get kind of stuck, you can always just take it off the hook there. But from here, just very basic chest press, and this feels perfect. Now there were some dimensions, like I tried some 37s, even some Harambe, which is 38 here, and it was just too hard for me to kind of get it off. I don't know why. I just felt a little tension in the shoulder. I wasn't really doing an upper body workout, at least today. I definitely got some reps in. This is nice tension just right out of the gates. Yes, there's like kind of like a V taper that kind of hits your arms, but it is very minimal. I just think it feels, you know, just really comfortable like this. So now I got a 41-inch moderate tension aluminum Geku bar locked in. A little bit of a harder band, but honestly, you don't really feel it till right. All right, now I want to show you what I mean with the X3. This is their new performance band, Gen 2, whatever. And pretty stiff already out of the gates, but still a 41-inch band. That one actually feels really good, but it's tense right out of the gates. I'm gonna sit upright here in a second, but of course you could use handles. I've covered both these before, the pros and cons of each one. This Vector one has a bigger opening, so you kind of feel that, but it's easier to get the bands in and out. This Robust one, which I like the feeling of this, there's no knurling, however, but the good thing about this is the band has a smaller opening, so they're not likely to kind of fly out, especially doing something like this. One of you guys reminded me of something I used to do without any handles, but it's another great exercise, which is kind of under the hand presses. This is just a great solid exercise, especially if you got a smaller band. I believe this is a 32-inch Serious Steel red, so that feels good. And I'm gonna show you that. You could do these against the bench, but for this one, I would say it feels pretty similar just doing it on your back. You could, of course, put the bench at a decline and just do the same kind of press you did. It might be a little bit easier to kind of get in and out. Kind of, again, it goes with personal preference. I'm going to show you 90 degrees, which it's hard to say if I don't like this one better than the straight flat one. And I'd also say one of the advantages here of the Super Bench, which has a notorious low seat to the ground, is now you have a bigger back pad to press off of. I would be a little cautious maybe of this little jagged area here, but I don't think I will hit it. So this one I'm going to do a clench with maybe a 37 blue. Also, one of the good things with the clench bar is something like this. You don't have to worry about it flying out. So go like that. So super comfortable. Not a lot of tension here, to be honest, but could go certainly smaller or with a stiffer band. Harambe was definitely deceiving. Even though it was 38 inches, there was a lot more pressure. So again, it was down again to personal preference. Serious Steel, a little bit more of a looser, smoother feel. Then again, I'm gonna show it to you. You could use those band guards I mentioned, but I think you can do seated overhead presses. Also feels really good here. Not much else to say. You're gonna see me doing this a lot. I'm sure some of you guys have already used this. To me, this is just a kind of night and day difference of everything else that's been out there. Not to mention the ways you can kind of fine tune the tension using something like this on a bench. But that is it. I will see you on the next one.